Then I started seeing it everywhere, and I just became the biggest Luka fan. It just hit me instantly. You ever get that feeling when something just hits you instantly? I'm like, this the best player in the world.
Who do you think won the trade?
As of right now, currently, as it stands today, you lace them up, you go out there and play tomorrow, it's Dallas. That's a made team.
If this were Mark Cuban still owning a majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks,
that wouldn't happen.
There is no way that Luka Dončić would be out of Dallas. But because he's no longer the majority owner, and that belongs in the hands of the Adelson family, they weren't having it.
Now you start to say to yourself, 25-year-old superstar, they get rid of him in the middle of the night without telling his representation, without telling him something else is going on. And what I love about the internet is you hear all the conspiracy theories. So let me address one conspiracy theory that I was a part of. He's out of shape.
The NBA trade deadline never fails to shake things up, but this year, this was a script straight out of Hollywood. Just when everything seemed quiet, the league was hit with a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the basketball world. Luka Dončić, yes, Luka Dončić was traded. For years, he's been the heart and soul of the Dallas Mavericks. A once-in-a-generation talent with unreal court vision, dazzling footwork, and the kind of basketball IQ that makes defenders look helpless. He didn't just put the Mavs on the map, he was the map. And now, just like that, he's gone. Fans, analysts, and even players were left scrambling for answers. How does a franchise even consider moving a player of this caliber? Was there tension behind the scene? A falling out with the front office? Did Dallas see something we all missed? Speculation ran wild, and the conspiracy theories came in hot. 1. The thing is certain, this move has changed the NBA forever. And of course, the biggest voices in basketball had plenty to say. From legends who've carried franchises on their backs to media personalities who thrive on these blockbuster moments. Everyone had an opinion. Today, we're breaking it all down, how the league is reacting, what this means for Luka's new squad, and the ripple effect this trade will have for years to come. And first up, the big diesel himself, Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant forces the game has ever seen, and now an analyst who never holds back. Shaq had some strong words about how the Mavericks handled their franchise superstar. Let's just say, he didn't hold back. Buckle up, this one's going to be a wild ride.
Honestly, Dallas didn't want to move forward with one of the greatest young players that we've seen today. I wish the business of basketball could have been handled a little better. You would think a guy that 5 years in the league, 5 first-team All-NBAs would at least get the conversation like, hey, things are not going well.
Clip Shaq's message was loud and clear. This wasn't just any trade. We're talking about Luka Dončić, a once-in-a-generation talent, the kind of player you build a franchise around, not someone you move like an expiring contract. And yet, the Mavericks didn't even give him a proper heads up. That's not just bad business. It's a full-scale trust meltdown between a superstar and his team. But here's where Shaq's take gets even more surprising. Despite blasting the Mavericks for how they handled the trade, he actually thinks they might have won in the short term. Wait. What? Losing a player like Luka should be a worst-case scenario for any franchise, right? But according to Shaq, adding Anthony Davis alongside Kyrie Irving could keep Dallas competitive for now. The real question is, can you take away one of the most gifted offensive players in the league and somehow come out ahead? Or is Shaq just trying to find a silver lining in a move that left the entire NBA in shock? Only time will tell. But the thing is certain, this trade isn't just about the next 2 seasons. It's about which team positioned itself for long-term dominance. Next up, NBA analyst Jason Gallagher, who wasted no time roasting the Mavericks front office. In a tweet that instantly went viral, he made it clear Dallas might have just outsmarted themselves right into disaster.
Nico, you've reached idiocracy. You know that term? It's where you think you've gotten so smart that you've actually kind of circled around, and now you're actually, like, that's the word. It's not idiocy, it's idiocracy. It's, you've overthought this one a little bit. You did not zag while everyone was zigging.
Mavericks front office thought they were playing 4D chess. Turns out they just flipped the board over and sent the pieces flying. Jason Gallagher didn't hold back, taking a direct shot at GM Nico Harrison, with a reference to idiocracy. His point: in trying to be the smartest guy in the room, Harrison might have outsmarted himself in the worst way possible. And that final debut did not zag while everyone was zigging was his way of saying the Mavs weren't making some next-level strategic move. No, they may have just pulled off one of the most baffling decisions in NBA history. And let's be honest, Gallagher isn't alone. Fans, analysts, and even former players are all on the same page: disbelief. The frustration isn't just about losing a generational superstar, it's about how badly Dallas seemed to botch the entire process. But if you thought that take was brutal, just wait until you hear what the No Dunks podcast had to say. Known for their mix of sharp analysis and unfiltered comedy, the crew wasted no time torching the Mavs logic, if you can even call it that. One of the hosts summed it up perfectly.
Like the Mavs read Twitter and said, oh, people don't like Luka's conditioning and they don't like his defense, throw that out there. There's a reason that we traded him. There's no possible good reason to trade Luka Dončić. He could weigh 350 pounds and still be the best player on the court.
And yes, his defense isn't exactly elite, but using that as a reason to trade away one of the most gifted offensive players of this generation, that's like selling your Ferrari because the cup holders aren't big enough. It almost feels like the Mavericks were grasping for a way to justify this move, because let's be real, no matter how they spin it, fans and analysts are all asking the same: what was the real motivation behind this trade? And right now, nobody seems to have a solid answer. Enter Kevin Garnett. KG has always been an intense competitor, but when it comes to breaking down the NBA, he has a way of spotting things others miss. And when he weighed in on the Luka trade, he didn't hold back. On a recent episode of KG Certified, he dropped a take so conspiracy theorists were eating it up.
All these guys are Nike guys.
Boom.
People don't know Nico is an ex-Nike guy.
Right.
Kobe. This is Kobe certified right here.
Right.
Nico is a Kobe guy. He might not even be a Nike guy. He a Kobe guy. So whatever Kobe was talking about, that's what Nico was on.
Right.
The Lakers know Kobe. The Lakers know Nico very well. You hear me?
Very well.
Very well. So I start just connecting all the dots. Luka, Jordan guy. Anthony Davis, Nike guy.
What exactly is Kaylee Graham trying to say? Eric is hinting at something bigger, a behind-the-scenes power play that might have influenced this trade. He's suggesting that the business side of basketball, particularly brand affiliations and long-standing connections, may have played a major role. Luka Dončić is a Jordan brand athlete, Anthony Davis, a Nike guy. And then there's Mavericks GM Nico Harrison, who spent years deeply connected to Nike, especially within Kobe Bryant's circle. Could those ties have subtly shaped this deal? At first it sounds out there, but let's not pretend NBA trades are always just about basketball. Business relationships, sponsorships and brand influence often play a role in where players land. And let's be honest, when the Lakers are involved in a blockbuster trade, people always start digging for hidden agendas, whether KG is onto something or just seeing patterns that aren't really there. One thing is clear, this trade is already overflowing with drama, and this theory just adds another wild twist to the story. And if you've followed the NBA for any length of time, you know Brian Windhorst doesn't get shocked easily. He's covered the league for decades, seen every trade imaginable. Yet even he could barely believe what he was saying when he broke.
Never seen anything like this. And Luka is 25 years old, okay? He is under contract for several more years, and this summer he is already eligible for a Supermax. I find it completely unbelievable that he would not sign that contract. The Mavericks didn't think that going forward with Luka was best for their franchise. Think about that statement.
Let that sink in for a moment. Dallas chose not to build around Luka Dončić. We're talking about a 25-year-old generational talent, already one of the best players in the league, and in prime position to sign a Supermax extension that would have kept him in a Mavericks jersey for years. Instead of securing their franchise cornerstone for the next decade, they traded him away. If that doesn't sound insane, what does? Brian Windhorst's reaction captured just how unprecedented this move. Luka wasn't a disgruntled star on an expiring contract. He wasn't demanding a trade or forcing his way out. Yet for some reason the Mavericks decided they couldn't build a winner to him. And instead of retooling their roster, they hit the reset button. What does that say about the confidence they had in the team they built? What does it reveal about Luka's relationship with the organization behind the scenes? And, most importantly, will this go down as a decision they'll regret for years to come? Because right now it sure feels like they just made a franchise-altering mistake. And if there's one person who always has the inside scoop on blockbuster NBA moves, it's Shams. The man lives for breaking news. And yet, even he was left speechless by how this trade went down. In a recent interview, he laid out just how blindsided everyone was.
Deal materialized in the shadows. This came out of nowhere. This is maybe the most stunning trade, definitely that I've been a part of in recent NBA history, as far as it was never clearly out there. And I'm told Luka Dončić, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, the players, coaches, a lot of people on both sides with the Mavericks and Lakers had no idea. I can assuredly tell you it's a fact. LeBron James had no idea this was coming.
At sink in Evan, LeBron James had no idea this was happening. One of the most influential players in NBA history, plugged into nearly every major move in the league, and yet, no leaks, no cryptic tweets, nothing. The trade just happened. That level of secrecy is almost unheard of in today's NBA. Normally, we get weeks, sometimes months of speculation before a blockbuster deal goes down. The rumor mill churns, agents drop hints, insiders sniff out details. But this was like waking up and realizing the sky had changed color overnight. The fact that this trade blindsided not just fans, but actual players and coaches, speaks volumes about how tightly the Mavericks and Lakers kept these negotiations under wraps. Whether you see this as a stroke of strategic genius or a franchise-crippling disaster, one thing is undeniable. This wasn't just another trade. This was a seismic shift that rattled the entire NBA. And just when you thought the reactions couldn't get any crazier, Kenny Beecham entered the chat. One of the most passionate and knowledgeable sports creators out there. Kenny's reaction to the Luka Dončić trade was as raw and unfiltered as it gets. In a live video, he simply could not believe what he was.
Quite literally, the craziest trade in NBA history just went down. I still can't believe that it is true. I still cannot believe that this is the reality that we are living in right now, where the Dallas Mavericks have Luka goddamn Dončić and they traded for Anthony Davis.
This isn't just a big trade, it's a franchise-altering, league-shaking history move that will be talked about for decades. Because let's be real, Luka Dončić isn't just another superstar. He's the kind of player franchises dream about. A generational talent who can single-handedly carry an offense, make the impossible look routine, and put up video game numbers every single night. And the Mavericks traded that Kenny Beecham. Disbelief perfectly mirrors what most NBA fans are feeling right now. The player Dallas was supposed to build their future around, the guy who was meant to define their next decade, is gone. Sure, Anthony Davis is an elite player, but let's not ignore the massive risk factor. His health has been a constant question mark, while Luka, despite any criticisms about conditioning or defense, has been unstoppable since the moment he stepped into the league. And so, the debate begins. Was this a moment of brilliance from the Mavericks, a move that will somehow position them for success in ways we don't yet understand? Or was this one of the biggest mistakes in recent NBA history? Analysts and insiders can break down trades all day long, but there's one group of people who feel the impact in a way. Stats and contracts never count the fans, and when it comes to Luka leaving Dallas, Mavericks fans are devastated. One lifelong supporter didn't hold back, pouring their emotions into a social media post that quickly went viral.
I've been a Mavs my whole entire life since I've been a baby. This is the worst moment in the history of my life. This is ridiculous. This is crazy, man. We went to the NBA Finals. Why are we trading the best player, the franchise player? How are we trading the franchise player? We went to the NBA Finals. He's supposed to have a statue. Hell yeah. He's supposed to have a statue.
The kind of impact Luka Dončić had on this franchise. To this fan and countless others, Luka wasn't just a player, he was the player. The one who was supposed to bring another championship to Dallas after Dirk. The one whose jersey kids would wear for generations. The one they fully expected to see immortalized in bronze outside the arena someday. This isn't just about losing a superstar, it's about losing the future. Mavericks fans spent years believing Luka was the foundation of the next great Dallas era. That belief was ripped away in an instant. And let's be real, heartbreak like this doesn't just fade overnight. No matter how this trade plays out, whether it's a strategic win or a disastrous miscalculation, one thing is certain: Mavs fans may never fully forgive the front office for this move. But beyond the emotional shock, there's another layer to this story: the secrecy. How did a trade this massive stay under wraps for so long? That's where Carmelo Anthony comes in. NBA trades never happen in silence. Usually there are weeks of rumors, cryptic tweets, and insiders dropping hints left and right. But this one, nobody saw it coming. And for Carmelo, that's exactly what made it so impressive. In a recent interview, he broke down just how rare it is for a deal like this to stay completely under the radar.